what it's about. But first, he wants to share some of what is in it with us. Mr. Isaac, good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks
All
for
right.
coming
So
on.
this piece is called Moko Jambi Lessons. He walked into class 4 feet tall and came out 9. This was how his story was entwined. From a broken home he came, didn't even remember his veritable name, for iniquity was now within his frame. With the class in session, he fidgeted to disgruntle, focusing on the burdens exhibited upon his mantle. With impatience, he wanted to double his height immediately. He had grown used to doing things so expediently, not realizing this class was more than standing to new heights, and that he was now under the charge of the one who writes. With men like Kilimanjaro, D'Souza, Stewart, and Bisnat now in his corner, he would eventually be on the tongues of every kindred and foreigner. From Universal to Zimbabwe and the UK to Qatar, his growth was now seen everywhere, both near and afar. From 11 months old, 4 in stilts, to age 77 on an 8 in stilt, he releases that pent up and mangled childhood guilt. As guide and protector of the village, he now valiantly stands with a height unmatched by any being across his native lands, bequeathing protection to those who really wanted the most. Lessons learned from this thing called a jumbie or a goose. Dressing in brightly colored clothing, he ensures he's seen from afar. This newfound celestial duty is born, the people's star.
The People Star, that's the name of it?
Yeah, so this first one is called Moko Jumbie Lesson.
Moko Jambi
Yeah,
license.
yeah,
So, and the book itself is called I Am the Tree.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Right.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, for sure. So it's called I Am the Tree, and it's my second collection. So this book was me having this realization that, we are the impetus to carry our stories and our culture forward. It was actually inspired by a costume I saw, the Mokopui by Valmiki Maharaj. And my first book is called Poetry. So when I saw a Mokojambi interposed with Pui plants, I got inspired, but I wasn't quite sure what it would inspire as yet. And naturally, it just had to come together quite organically. And yeah, I remember like over the pandemic, I also had a couple family deaths. And I was thinking, what happens when we are no more to these stories that we carry? I was like, how do we live, I guess, beyond death itself? And I realized that a lot of our stories, and even in doing the research, they happen to be via oral tradition. So I wanted to be able to connect with some of our local craftsmen and be able to put stories to pen and paper. So that's how the book and the name came about. I Am the Tree, because it's now where the tree is carrying the stories forward.
How does it relate to what you say about trying to figure out how do we live after death?
Okay, yes. So I was able to find the answer, and to me, the answer is that I believe that once you are, intentional with the people that you curate around you, your audience, and you give back wholly, honing on your crafts and your talents, I believe that your impact and your legacy is definitely felt long after you're gone. Even if I think about some of the there's some Pekong, Calypso artists and Parang queens I even mentioned who are no longer with us, but every year at these certain occasions we still hear their music. And to me, that is living for centuries. And it all ties back to a tree. There's a tree called the banyan tree. And they describe it as the tree that lives for centuries because its impact is felt decades beyond itself, because what it does, it nurtures all the trees around it and builds up a community. And I felt really inspired by that. So it was a collection of all these things coming together.
So you have sort of a relationship, whether it's elemental or not, to the whole banyan concept, because there is a local sort of performing group and a creative organization called Banyan in the West.
Well, I would have to get in touch with them. But yeah, naturally, I just because I really love nature. So in my first collection, when I was doing research and I stumbled upon the banyan tree, I contacted my graphics artist Antonia Figaro, and I said, "This is where we're starting with," and we kind of went from there. And it's kind of like become the driving force for most of the work, because I think it's like a powerful story behind it, and I love that phrase of like living for centuries. I think it's like a question. Well, maybe it's just me, but a lot of people, especially over the pandemic and all these losses, you kind of wonder like what is your impact after you're gone?
Yeah. Talking about deaths through the pandemic,
Right.
was any of them in your family
Yeah, so it started off with my grandfather, and I think that's
as a
what.
result of COVID?
No, that he passed away from cancer, and then I lost an uncle to COVID, and then an aunt to cancer. So it was like, three in a row. And I think definitely they all made me beg the question, like what happens when we're not here anymore. But I think it also gave me the reminder that, I definitely need to live with purpose because, even at the start of the pandemic, I was in a different career path, and the pandemic kind of, I guess, meddled with some medical school transfers. So I told myself, I said, even though I'm not uh, in line with directly what I want to be doing, this is also something I'm passionate about. And I said, as long as you have life, you have purpose. And I was like, I'm going to make my mark one way or the other.
So you were a medical student,
Yeah.
and you opted to
Yeah, so my mom, she
transition as we
yeah, so the pandemic, I guess it affected a lot of people, but with me particularly, some scholarships and some school transfers got blocked. And my mom, she said, what is something you really love? And moms tend to repeat stuff. So she said it. She's like, what do you love? And I really wasn't sure. I was like, okay, outside of this, what do I love? What do I want to do? And after she repeated it a bit, it kind of clicked. And I said, Mom, I always wanted to write because apart from science, I love writing. And I guess I'm an anomaly because other my science friends, they're not really into reading and writing. They're like, okay, that's a bit strange. But I like it too. I think that's part of my duality, I guess. And my parents are really supportive. They're like, if you're going to write and you're gonna put it all into it, we'll support it. So they definitely encourage me. And yeah, like my mom, she's like I call her like my unofficial PR person. She's like sharing the book. She's like, "Do you know that my son is an author? This is his book. This is his interview." So it's good. It's cool to be able to step into something else. And I think sometimes we limit ourselves as to having one purpose. I feel like now I've found a different purpose, and I'm still able to connect with people.
So she wasn't disappointed that
No, she's very open minded. She's like, if you want to be a doctor, we support. If you want to be an author, if you want to do the two, we'll support. But whatever we're doing, just pour 100% into it, and we'll support you.
so you have sort of a reserve about whether you would go back into medical.
I would love to. Once things align, I'm actively working on things realigning, and I think that even if I could pour the funds from this book back into that trajectory, but I'm trying to keep an open mind because I feel I'm wondering like God has shown me so much times. I'm like, is it what I want, or what He wants? But we'll see. I definitely would love to coexist the two careers. So we'll see how that works out in the future.
But I mean, you're taking all of this sort of with a good sense of humor, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, like I come from a very jovial family, and we kind of joke. We say, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So I try to laugh about it. I mean, it's like that's kind of like just my sense of personality and humor. So even like some of the stories and the poems in the book is very a little witty. Just my sense of corny humor, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't think that you would ever confront what people call buyer's remorse, and you choose something that
Right.
you switch to something that
Yeah, I guess you know what I told myself. I said with a year of so much losses, I said I literally have nothing to lose now. I mean, except maybe the investment in the book. But I mean, apart from that, I feel like I could only gain, and I was like, I want to gain success in different walks of life. And I guess when I was younger, I was always that kind of person who wanted to do everything anyway. So perhaps in God's, I guess, sense of humor, I'm getting to do everything.
you find that you're multi-purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Is there another a piece that you wouldn't mind sharing?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, so this one definitely would tie into my sense of humor. So this one is called Peregrinade in Citygate, and he is experiencing a modern day Citygate experience. So, I am the Peregrinade by name, and spelling is my favorite game. I like to use colossal words. I tell them that doesn't make us nerds. Today, I will tell you about pandemonium, like when Friday afternoon in Citygate has come. I find amusement in the irony of this city having a gate because their implausible attitude I will castigate. Two big AC maxis reach, everyone's footsteps hasten. One with no central AC turns up, and suddenly they're all chastened. I wish I had worn a pair of shoes adorned or fastened with a cleat, cause this preposterous but aesthetically pleasing woman just manhandled me from my seat. So that one is called Peregrinade in Citygate.
How long it takes you to write one of these pieces, and how long it took you to get the collection to
Yeah,
put it
so
together?
it depends. So like my aunt is an author as well, and she always calls it the muse. So I'd be like, I guess I get inspired by different things. So in the Peregrine, I had an example. I was watching Nalis had some videos on their YouTube channel with different performances, and I love I guess the limerick of it, and I said, okay, so I kind of would just like sit down with it, kind of like streamline it, but it depends on the poem. Like some of them, I could just do it out in about 10, 20 minutes. But I feel like if I want more to it, I would like let it simmer for a few days and then put it together. But this book in particular, I would say I started working on it in 2021, and I finished writing literally about 2 weeks before I printed it. So I finished it about like maybe November last year. And I think I had to put a little more time into this one because I had to do like more research. So some of the characters, so I've got to focus like a lot of folklore, traditional mass, and then like our sites and tourism. But with the characters in particular, I wanted to connect with persons who actually portray them. So the Moko Jambi one I read earlier, I actually got to talk with Junior Bisnat, which was pretty cool. He's a great guy, and he was sharing me like all the stories about how even though the Moko Jambi is a spectacular show, he's more in the process of transforming these boys' lives who come to the school, so they kind of grow in height and stature. So I wanted to really connect with a lot of these persons before I actually publish, because I mean I feel like I know a lot, but if persons know more than me, I'm willing to learn from them to put it to pen and paper, especially if I'm publishing it. So that is why this one put up took a little longer.
So Moko Jambi, Peregrina. What are some of the other?
Yeah, so we have Baby Doll, Dam Lorraine, we have Sailor Moss, Fancy Indian, and then we have like some folklore characters like Mama Blue, Papa Boa, and these other characters. So it's fun. And then in the end we get to focus on like there's some like on like Carony Swamp conservation, and then some more tongue-in-cheek ones at the end. So you get the history and you get the humor. And I feel like it's me, but also Trinbago. So I really like how it came together.
You play mass?
No.
Somebody who has such familiarity with all these.
I just like reading about it. I think the culture is fun, and it's definitely fun to learn about. And I feel like you don't necessarily need to be at the forefront to have an appreciation for it. So I feel like this is my way of like contributing to culture. I feel like my strong suit is writing and pen and paper. So
perpetuating the culture through these characters and so
Yeah.
on. There's a lot of lament sometimes about
Right.
how we continue to lose familiarity.
And I did not even grasp the full reality of that until I was able to speak with, so especially I got to speak with June Sanka. She does Dam Lorraine, and even Keith Simpson for Fancy Sailor.
Yes.
And yeah, so when I spoke with them, I was just happy to connect with them and write, and they were really appreciative that someone as young as me was interested in the characters, because they were opening up to me about how, in this new landscape, they kind of getting eroded away. So I was like, wow, that's fascinating. Because I just think the characters are cool. So I like them, but they were explaining to me like how they were eroding away. So I guess it added a little more importance to the collection. And I felt like it was a project that we all got to do together, even the Baby Doll in particular. So Baby Doll is a fun, I guess, tongue-in-cheek character. And I saw a video with one. But the history of Baby Doll is like really sad, because it's about illegitimate child. So we actually got to like rewrite her story a little bit with like her fighting back. So that was cool as well. And I feel like, in history, you get to accept the parts. When you rewrite in history, you get to like stay true to parts, and you also could rewrite some parts if you want. So I feel like I had that liberty and that confirmation from these people themselves who helped.
Well, I think, like talking with persons like yourself, we have this lament about
Right.
we will lose the culture and we lose information and knowledge about the culture. But I think if there are couple more people like you. I think I think we're sailing good going forward.
Yes, that's for sure.
Keeron, Isaac, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Best wishes.
Thanks, man. Blessings to you.
We will take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.